What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. We are going to wait till some more people get in here to get started, but thank you for coming in and hanging out. We are going to be talking some week 4 betting, not DFS, not season long fantasy. We are going to be talking sports betting. Ty, what's good? John, the coffee looks good. Yeah, it is tea. I ran out of coffee and my coffee maker broke last week, so we're off to a really good start to the end of September. But we're drinking tea today. We're gonna get fired up. We're gonna talk some football. Yeah, what's going on, guys? All right, well, let's get started. Because I've found that doing this by myself, I tend to get carried away with a lot of games midway through the card, and I have to rush the Sunday night football game and the Monday night football game, both of which are really good this week. So I don't want to. I want to try to get to all of them in an even time. Yep, last day of September. Thank you for reminding me. So, guys, yeah, if you have not commented or know somebody who wants to be a sub for this chat for the next month, feel free. Feel free. We got a lot of sports to talk about today. Let's start out with this first one. Okay, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. This one is -7.5 towards Cincy at home. The total on this one sits at 46 right now. It was 46.5 at open. I'm not really sure if I believe in the total of this one. This means that the Jacksonville Jaguars have around a 19 to 20 point team total. And for me, they've only done that one time and convincingly one time. So I don't really want to bet on that necessarily. The Bengals getting a touchdown at home is something that hasn't been done. And I looked this up yesterday. It's actually in my article. They have not been more than a touchdown favorite since 2003. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 2003 is the last time that they were a home touchdown favorite. It might have been. I have to double check this now because I'm going to probably get some shit for this, but it's either it's either 2013 or 2003. It might be 2013 because it's Andy Dalton back in the day, but it's in my article. If you haven't read my article yet, it's up for today. Go check it out. If you're an NFL member, I made sure to do that early today. I'll be updating the rest of it shortly here. Good morning. What's up, Eddie? Bengals captain all day. Yeah, I mean, I feel that too, for sure. So right now, obviously, regardless of the 2000 whatever situation, the touchdown spread is about 7.5, and I feel like that's a lot of points. But at the same time, I believe in the Cincinnati offense, and their offensive line worries don't scare me in this matchup. The I think that the two Joes are going to have to play a big part in this one. Mixon's getting about 30 touches a game, which is something that I've been waiting for 2 years, and they're giving it to him now, so we might as well take advantage of it. Because who knows what that's going to be at the end of the season or towards the end of the season as we get down to the stretch. We also don't know how long, or don't know how good this team is going to be. With Pittsburgh sliding the way they are, Cincinnati has a clear advantage to 3 wins here, and the Ravens have a tough matchup against Denver this week, and the Cleveland Browns have to play Minnesota, so anything could happen there. The Bengals could be at the top of the AFC North by the end of week 4 when it's all said and done. So for me, if I were to look at this thing from a few angles, I would say the under looks pretty good here. 46 is where I would kind of start hesitating and saying, hey, maybe we don't expect 27 to 20. That doesn't feel like something that I want to bet. So I think this game is more along the lines of 24 to 17, maybe 27 to 14, 27 to 17. That's all under 46. So, man, I don't think this game's going to be that close. Maybe Jacksonville makes it a contest in the first half like they did against Arizona. But the one thing I did notice, and I think a lot of you have already mentioned this to me in whether it be the Discord or DMs or something, we all noticed that the Arizona Cardinals made the Jacksonville Jaguars look pretty damn good in the first half. So I don't think Cincinnati makes that mistake and shoots themselves in the foot that much. Give me the Bengals -7.5. I don't feel comfortable with it. I just feel good enough. I don't back the Jacksonville offense enough to go with them covering here. So give me -7.5 towards Cincinnati and the under of 46. Have all the primetime games gone over still? Sunday night did with the Packers and 49ers. The over hit in the Cowboys and the Eagles because of the Cowboys. I believe that whatever last Thursday night was did not go over. That was Texans and Panthers. That did not hit the over. So I think there's only been one game that's hit the under so far. I have a good feeling that this one's going to be doing that as well. Yeah, Jacksonville offense does turn it over too much. Trevor Lawrence obviously doesn't look good. None of the rookie QBs have look very good this year. We were so hyped about that, but we'll see if that changes moving down the line. I can't imagine Jacksonville's going to look any better today after only 3 days, 4 days of prep for this one. So give me the Bengals. This is going to be Trevor Lawrence, if I remember correctly, his first primetime game of the season. Uh, First primetime game ever. So yeah, give me the Bengals. I know that Burrow has looked average. You can say maybe slightly above where you'd expect him to be after that knee surgery. Give me the Bengals here. I have no problem betting them. What's up, Dear Ramified? What's going on? Would you play Boyd over Mike Davis at flex? Yep, I understand. Boyd plays today. I would play Boyd today. The one thing we didn't bring up, and I'll move on to the next game after this, is that T. Higgins is out for today with that shoulder injury. We can expect him to be out at least this week, if not next week too. That thing is going to be hard to come back from, at least now. Yeah, so give me the Bengals. I think that Boyd and Jamar Chase are going to be able to do a lot, as well as Joe Mixon pounding it on the ground for the entirety of the game. D-Ramify, we'll go over MVP and fantasy stuff later this afternoon. We're going to focus on traditional sports betting tonight, but yeah, I think that Burrow and Mixon are fine captain options. Okay, let's go on to Sunday here and talk about the 1 o'clock games. There are, from what I remember looking at this earlier this week, there are a lot of pretty low scoring ones in the afternoon, so it might be a sleeper type of afternoon outside of 1 or 2 games. Washington football team taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Washington football team is 1.5 point road favorites here. The game total sits at a modest 47.5. Atlanta's offense has looked terrible. The only time that they put up points was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, go figure. And they somehow snuck out a win last week against the New York Giants. That's the only team I would expect them to pull out a win in the fourth quarter too. So give me, Washington's defense has now looked good. They have not looked good. I think they're actually in the bottom 5 in terms of a lot of pro football focused statistics. So I think this is a spot where they can turn things around. I believe in Taylor Heineke and Antonio Gibson in this spot. Terry McLaurin should have a very good game as well. I think that I think Washington's defense gets to turn things around this week. 1.5 seems like, if you think that they're going to win, you just bet the point spread for better odds, right? Like, why take the minus 125? And if you lose if they win by 1 and you lose the bet, so be it. Like, that's an L, whatever. But if you think that Washington can win, and I think that they do, I think it's better to just take your better odds and go with that 1.5 on the board right here. You can see my mouse. So give me Washington football team minus 1.5. I don't really want to touch the total. Both of these teams can score, and with the defenses the way that they've looked recently, I don't think I'm going to try to hit the over or under. Give me the Washington football team minus 1.5. Let's move on and talk about Detroit and Chicago. A little bit more of an interesting game, right? The Chicago Bears minus 2.5, going on now what seems to be an ever-growing quarterback controversy and quarterback carousel. Matt Nagy, I can pull this up later. I'm actually interested to see this if BetOnline has it up yet. Matt Nagy, probably in the top 2 or 3 to get fired first in the league. So with the play calling that he had last week, and I understand Justin Fields looked terrible. I'm not going to say anything that says that he was good last week. We actually talked about on this show. We talked about how the Cleveland Browns were the team that was going to actually absolutely demolish Justin Fields in his first start. So that came to fruition last week. We'll see what happens. It looks like Andy Dalton, as long as he's clear from injury, is going to start in this game. That's not fun for anybody. But Chicago Bears minus 2.5 sounds enticing if that's the case. The over/under sitting at 42 has to be it's one of the lowest, so bottom three of the totals. I'm not going to touch that. That sounds gross. I'm not gonna get. I don't want to tilt on Sunday about the over of 42 hitting in this game because that's like a 23-20 game. No thanks. So give me. Man, this I don't want to bet anything with Chicago here. I really don't. So Detroit looked good against the Ravens all week or all game, and they've hung around in all other games except for that Green Bay one. But they played well in the first half. So it depends on who's quarterback. I'm probably staying away from this game altogether. It doesn't sound fun at all. The Ramified says if Dalton starts, Bears all day. I mean, that's I don't even feel comfortable about saying that's fine. Chicago, I don't know. They just have not looked good. David Montgomery's in a good spot. It might just be a season-long or DFS type approach here, because Allen Robinson has not been a top 45 wide receiver in any of the 3 weeks. And I mean, yeah. So Grace to you brings up a good point. If you want to tease this one and get the Bears a little bit more, I don't mind it. Maybe you can get plus money on the Bears or a plus spread on the Bears if you tease it. I would feel comfortable with them in that situation, but I'm going to stay away from the whole thing altogether because I don't really want anything to do with this game, especially with everything that's going on with Matt Nagy. The play calling has looked subpar. The quarterback play last week was expected. They did look good against the Bengals, I'll say that. But at the same time, there's so many other good spots on this card. Why even target it in the first place? Yeah, I do think Montgomery does pretty well in this spot. He has not received the touches that I would have liked in weeks 2 and 3. Week 1, he looked good. He looked like his second half self. This is a very good matchup for the Bears, and we've seen obviously teams run all over Detroit. So, yeah, I mean, you can blame part of, the reason the Lions looked good last week was had a lot to do with the fact that Lamar just looked uncomfortable and Marquise Brown dropped 2 touchdowns and their defense was missing half of the guys that they had on the starting roster. So, with all that being said, if you want to bet Chicago, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I'm not going to do it myself. So let's move on and talk about another 1 o'clock game here, one that has some revenge narratives in it. The Tennessee Titans going up against the New York Jets. The Tennessee Titans are -7 road favorites here. Game total sits at 44. Again, another really low total. So we've started out this week, and 47.5 is respectable. So I'm not going to dog on that, but we're going to have a lot of low totals in this 1 o'clock range. Tennessee is coming off of a decent win against the Indianapolis Colts, who don't have a quarterback. So I can't necessarily say how good this team is just yet. The big news out of their camp this week is that AJ Brown is going to miss again. He's going to probably miss several weeks with that hamstring injury. And now Julio Jones appeared on the practice report yesterday as a non-participant. So he's going to be questionable coming into Sunday. I can already say it. Like, he's already going to be a game time decision. I would expect him to be limited today, if not even practicing. And this is just going to be the way Tennessee goes for the rest of the season. They have 2 wide receivers coming into the year that were already banged up and are injury prone. What are they going to do? They're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry 35 times. So, I mean, can the Jets stop that? I don't think so. Not with their defensive personnel that they have. We'll see. Maybe they're going to be able to run some play action with guys like Chester Rogers. But yeah, Tennessee is losing weapons left and right in the wide receiver room. And it would have been a really nice game to have a guy like Corey Davis, who now is on the other side of this one, on that roster. And they lost him. They lost Adam Humphries. Anthony Ferkser's trying to battle back from an injury. Who do they even have the ball to, like? Who are they going to throw the ball to? So I mean, Tennessee can probably win with Derrick Henry by himself. So it's just that it's enough to where I don't really want to bet -7 Tennessee. It kind of feels a little bit trappy. Derrick Henry is an obvious smash home run DFS play. So don't get that confused with this number. Don't get that confused with the -7, because those are totally 2 different games and 2 different mindsets entirely. So can you count on the Jets to score points? No. Can you count on the Tennessee Titans to pass the ball? Maybe. The New York Jets have not put up more than, 16 points in 3 games, and they got shut out last week in Denver. It's going to take a while for this Jets team to get it. If they were to get it right, and it could be in this spot. Tennessee's defense, Tennessee's secondary, not good. However, Zach Wilson, not good through 3 weeks. So this one might be a complete stay away for me. Might be just a DFS target. I'm sure Derrick Henry's rushing props are through the roof, so I don't really want to touch it. So yeah, I'm gonna probably stay away from this one. Is Henry the best running back slate on the slate this week? Yeah, he is. He most certainly is. So not much I like through these first 3 games. If anything, I would probably take Washington football team out of any of these games so far. Let's move along and talk about the Cleveland Browns going up against the Minnesota Vikings. The Cleveland Browns are the 2-point favorites. Kind of surprised me there on the road. The over-under sits at 51, so finally a game with some offense in it. Cleveland has been in a lot of shootouts over the past couple weeks. Last week was not one of them. So we kind of expected the Browns to be able to control the ball. Even with Jarvis Landry out, Odell Beckham looked pretty good coming back from that injury. He looks like he still has some gas left in the tank, and Baker had found him on quite a few. He was targeted 9 times. Didn't come down with just about half of those, but I think that rapport should start to build back up. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns are a run-first team. Minnesota's run defense not as good as I once thought would be coming into the season, but their pass rush is the main concern. So yeah, if Minnesota can get some pressure on Baker, that would be where I would feel like that they would struggle. But at the same time, obviously they're a run first team, so they'll probably develop the play action game and do just fine with that. Minnesota has been involved in 3 straight shootouts, and I think that this one's another one. So the number that stands out to me is the over 51 here. That looks pretty enticing. I think that Minnesota, like every single Minnesota game has gone over, and it probably will continue to do so until something happens, whether it be they lose an offensive piece or they just get blown out of the water or they blow somebody else out of the water. However, this is not going to be one of those games. I think that this one has the makings of a very sneaky shootout in betting, DFS, season long, all of it. So the underlying numbers for both teams just scream that a lot of offense is going to be scored. The one concern that I do have is that Minnesota offensive line going up against the defensive pass rush of Cleveland. We saw what Myles Garrett was able to do last week. I have a scary feeling he's going to be doing that all season. So I'm surprised that he did not. I think he won AFC. He was part of the AFC Defensive Players of the Week. So I expect him to be back in that category this week against the Vikings. Yep, the over is great. I like it a lot. I'm not going to bet a side on this one. There doesn't seem to be much of a point here. We had this exact situation last week with Seattle coming into Minnesota. Seattle was 1-point road favorites, and we saw how that ended up for them. Now I know that Seattle doesn't normally play very well in Minnesota. These two teams don't play each other very often, so I'm not going to say one way or the other on how I feel about it. I think that it's going to be a classic over spot at 51, and we'll call it a day on that. So only 2 bets that I like so far for what I'm interested in. Again, I only focus on like 3 to 5 bets that I really like on the week. Over 51 is a great spot for Cleveland and Minnesota, and then the Washington football team -1.5 is also something that I feel comfortable betting. And okay, let's move on to this next game. I'll take a sip of this tea here. Thanks for coming in and joining me, guys. I know that me running solo is always, obviously we all wish that Josh was here, but he deserves a day off. The man works incredibly hard, so he'll be back tomorrow. It's me all day. You get me for both sports, for NFL and MLB. So we're gonna kick it and we're gonna keep going and rolling along here, as we have about 40 minutes left in the stream and about, 12 more games to cover. Indianapolis Colts going up against the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are -1.5 point home favorites. Game total sits at 42.5, another very low total. The Colts coming in as underdogs here is interesting for a few reasons. One, you would think that there would be the better team on paper, right? Two, I think a lot of this has to do with Carson Wentz's ankle injuries. He was able to actually stay in the game, which was impressive to say the least. I thought that Carson Wentz was going to be out against Tennessee, and even if he came in, I felt like he wouldn't be able to finish the game. So kudos to Carson Wentz for being able to stick it out and being able to do things in that game, even though they lost. So Miami comes in as 1.5 point home favorites with Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. I don't feel confident in that number whatsoever. This feels like a trappy spot for Miami. It feels like we could get some really, really good odds at plus 115. So for me, and I'll go over what we're looking at for this game in general, but the Colts at plus 1.5. If you think that they're going to cover that number, why not just bet the plus 115? So, like, there are a few lines like that, like this one, and then the other one was the Washington football team. Like, when it gets to be less than 2 points in the spread, just pick one or the other, right? You're going to get good odds on the underdog here at plus 115. I think that like you can double down if you want. You can bet the spread at plus 1.5, and if they lose by one, so be it. You still cover. But I would much rather take the better odds at plus 115 in the hopes that they just win the game outright. Brian, what's up, dude? We have not talked about your team yet, so we'll be talking about them later on in the stream. Also, I'm wearing the jersey or the shirt today because I did laundry last night and I forgot that I was supposed to wear it yesterday. So now I'm wearing it for both streams today in honor of Mr. Josh Reimer and him winning the contest that we have every Wednesday. The Colts seems like a spot for Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines to go ballistic in. They have agreed, the Colts have agreed to mutually agreed with Marlon Mack that they're going to trade him, and he will be a healthy scratch yet again. He was a healthy scratch last week. The Colts are just one of those teams where I can't count them out in this spot. And I think that their running game, if they do it well, they should be able to take this game pretty easily from Miami. But the Dolphins also looked pretty competent with Brissett against the Raiders outside of that stupid 1 yard. They threw that ball in the end zone when they were on the 1 yard line and got that safety. Pathetic play calling, but we'll see how it goes in this one. For me, though, I'm going to go with the Colts plus 115, and I feel good about it. I don't think it would be in my top five, but I think that you can feel pretty comfortable betting the Colts to win this one on the road. Let's go on and talk about another interesting game. The Carolina Panthers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are -5 here, coming off of a short week. The total sits at 50.5. Cowboys coming in with 5 points against this defense seems strange. The Panthers undefeated so far this season. The Cowboys obviously have looked really good as well. Outside of their, I'd say that they look pretty good against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I have no qualms. I think that Dallas is the clear front runner for the NFC East at this moment. Their offense, I had no doubts in with Dak coming back, and he's proved that he's a miraculous comeback for Dak Prescott. He should be comeback player of the year, hands down. So Dallas, the problem that I have with this right now is the points that we have at the moment. I think this is an interesting opportunity to get -5 at plus money. This is probably going to drop to -4, -4.5 by Sunday. Carolina's defense is the main thing that's probably going to keep them in this game. The biggest story on the offensive side for that team is that Christian McCaffrey, obviously out for several weeks. Surprised they haven't put him on the IR yet. Maybe they will. Maybe they're thinking it's not as serious as people are making it out to be. I wouldn't also be surprised if McCaffrey ended up on the IR next week either. So we'll see. Carolina's going to have to rely on DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, and Chuba Hubbard. I also don't want to have you guys forget that Royce Freeman's in the backfield too. Saw a remark from Carolina's coaching staff this morning that said, while Chuba Hubbard is not CMC and neither is Royce Freeman, they're still going to use the same game plan. I don't know what that means. I don't know how that's going to work. But one thing I can tell you is that I do not think that we're going to see a Mike Davis type of performance from last year for Chuba Hubbard this week. I think that Dallas's defense did a very good job stopping the run on Monday. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they gave Miles Sanders 2 carries. But that is, Philly is whatever. But they've done a good job stopping the run so far. Tampa Bay wasn't able to do anything on the ground, and the Chargers weren't able to do anything on the ground either. But the one thing that they were able to do well is pass to the opposing running back. So if you think Chuba Hubbard is in play here, he should be able to get some receptions through the air against those linebackers that we saw were exploited against the Philadelphia Eagles late on in garbage time. So we'll see. I don't feel comfortable betting Dallas -5. I think that if it drops to -4, -4.5, maybe I feel more comfortable with Dallas. The game total of 50.5 sounds a little bit too low. So for me, if I'm betting anything, it's probably the over 50.5 because the one thing that has been consistent this year so far is that every Dallas game and every Minnesota game has gone over a ton. So Dallas at home in that turf in Jerry World, 50.5 seems like a spot where they'll put up a lot of points. If Dallas puts up 30, you only need Carolina to put up 20, which I think they can do in this spot. I think that people underestimate Carolina, and they're going to continue to underestimate Carolina. Even if they lose, people are still going to underestimate what this offense can do. So, yeah, give me the over of 50.5. I probably feel the best out of anything there. Watch out for Dallas or the spread total dropping. I am going to go that route with that one. Just got out of a meeting. I made it. Not Seattle, Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, that total disappointed down the stretch, but Minnesota put up a ton of points. Seattle was the team that blew that one for you. But yeah, let's move on and talk about the next game on the slate. It is the New York Giants taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are -7.5 here. Game total sits at 41.5, which is the lowest on the board this week. The Saints touchdown favorites at home against this Giants team. We saw the Giants. What can we say about the Giants that's nice? Saquon Barkley looked good, but it was against Atlanta. That's not going to happen this week. The Saints' run defense is, again, something I never like to target against. So, yeah, I don't feel comfortable. BetOnline thinks that the Giants are going to be within a touchdown of the Saints this whole time. I don't know if I can get behind that. The Giants are struggling, and we don't know who their wide receivers are going to be this week at all. They have Sterling Shepard, who probably is going to miss, who left the game in week 3. They have Darius Slayton, who also missed practice and also was out of the game in week 3. Kenny Galladay is the only starting healthy receiver there, and he's not even involved in the offense. Even Saquon Barkley got dinged up, and I don't expect him to be as good as he was last week either. So, wow, yeah. I don't feel good with the Giants at all here. I think that I'll probably stay away because betting on Jameis Winston to cover a touchdown never feels good. I think Alvin Kamara is going to be able to run all over this defense. But at the same time, I just don't trust the Saints offense enough to be able to cover a touchdown with that game total sitting at 41.5. That's a very low total and a very high point spread. So I'll probably just fade the game altogether. Fatty, what's going on, dude? Let's get this NFL dub tonight. Agreed. Guys, if you're hanging out right now, thank you so much. If you're interested in talking DFS for the FanDuel single game or DraftKings showdown for tonight's game between the Bengals and the Jaguars, feel free to tune in to our stream in 2 hours. We're going to be going live at 1 o'clock Eastern time, where we'll break down all of the things you need to know for that game from a fantasy standpoint. Okay, let's go and talk about the next game here. A couple more 1 o'clock games to cover. This one's going to be a fun one. It's the Kansas City Chiefs Going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Chiefs are 7.5-point road favorites here. Game total sits at 54.5, which is the highest for the 1 p.m. games. These Chiefs, obviously, the story this week is everybody's freaking out because the sky is falling, that the Chiefs are 1-2, which is last in the AFC West. First time in probably 3 years that's happened. So, yeah, I'm not worried about the Chiefs at all. I think that they will bounce back and they get a good matchup to do so. Their Tyreek Hill has now been schemed out successfully twice. I don't think that Darius Slay and the Eagles secondary is going to be able to shut him down again. So once Tyreek Hill gets going, that opens the field up for Travis Kelce. The other side of this, the other note, is that the running backs against the Eagles have done very well, and we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire. As much as I, failed to believe in him last week or this season, he looked really good, and I think that if they run the ball here, they should be able to have some success against that Eagles rush defense. The big story that's not going to come to fruition this week is the fact that Josh Gordon signed with the Chiefs, and he will not be playing this week, as reported earlier by some beat writers that I trust. So Josh Gordon will be activated and probably be playing sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. KV Pitt says Chiefs will not cover until the defense gets fixed. That's what I was getting to next. Thank you for bringing that up, sir. This number is very weird from these juice angles right now. I think that this is going to fall to 7 points, and it has a chance to fall to 6.5 by Sunday. This is a lot to bet on the Eagles. Right now with this offense, I can't bet the Eagles to cover plus 7.5. I think that this game ends up being within 7 to 10 points, but I'm not going to use my hard-earned money to try to bet on a scenario where we don't know how good the Chiefs defense is going to come in with this one. We don't know what the Eagles offensive playbook is going to look like in that horrific performance against the Cowboys on Monday night. Jalen Hurts coming off a short week. It's always questionable. He will probably play better at home, but again, Mahomes and the Chiefs are out for blood. They're looking for a win. They're probably going to get it here, and I would not be surprised to see Kansas City blow the doors off of this team this week. However, I'm not going to bet it. So the over looks great, 54.5. It looks really enticing, but again, can you rely on that? The 54.5 is probably going to come down to 54, maybe even 53.5. I'm just having intuition with that one. Right now, it's probably going to be 54 by the end of tomorrow, from what I can see as far as who's putting money on how many people are putting money on the under here. So the Chiefs could put up 30 plus points. Do we feel confident enough that the Eagles are going to put up 24? Maybe. Could be a garbage time bailout spot, but do you really want to rely on garbage time for the second week in a row for the Eagles coming off of a short week and a blowout loss? I'm not going to get behind it, so I'm going to go ahead and stay away from the game completely, which is probably what you guys did not expect me to do. But I am going to probably just take my chips and just walk away with this one because they're good DFS plays, but it's just not, the numbers are not where I want them to be. So if Kansas City gets down to -6.5, I will take that. But if it's -7, -7.5, we'll see. This feels like a classic backdoor garbage time spot for the underdog. Okay, we have one final game to cover in the 1 o'clock slate. It is the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. The Buffalo Bills are -16 home favorites here, and the game total sits at 47. I talked about this in my article for the Thursday night game, so I'll bring it here in front of the paywall for you guys. Dating back to I think it was the year 1999 or 2000, all teams that have been at least a touchdown favorite have their spread has cashed 48% of the time. So let me say that again because I know I jumbled that up a little bit. So over the last 20 plus years, teams that have had a touchdown or more favorite at home have only covered 48% of the time. The Bills probably have the biggest spread of the season. I don't think that Kansas City plays Houston this year, and if I'm wrong, forgive me. But the Buffalo Bills, one, they get this game at home in Buffalo. Two, they get Davis Mills, who's coming off of horrifically bad rookie debut performance on Thursday Night Football. And three, Josh Allen put up 5 touchdowns last week. It feels pretty good to lay 16 points on Buffalo. You can feel pretty good about it, right? Chad, I want to see if you guys have the confidence in Stones to bet minus 16. Because that's a lot of points. That's a minimum of 2 scores, most likely 3 scores. I think you can feel. I wouldn't say this normally, but I feel like you can have a good amount of confidence that they're going to cover this. The over/under is 47, which is even scarier. You would expect this to be like 50, but Houston is that bad. And the one thing that bodes well in Houston's favor, nothing else really does, but the one thing that does is they get 10 days of rest and 10 days of preparation for this game. Is Davis Mills going to look better? Who knows, man? I don't know. I don't think so. Buffalo's defense has shown that they are here like they're for real. Like Buffalo's defense is for real, and they shut out Miami. They kept Washington to 14 points, and then they had some garbage time. And yeah, they've looked really good through the first couple of weeks. That Steelers game in Week 1, I think, was a little bit of an anomaly. I think you can feel comfortable betting 16 points. Am I going to do it myself? No, I'm never going to bet that many points for a team. But I'm telling you guys that if you want to, you can. And I'm. What about a KC Buffalo teaser? Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. At KB Pitt, just letting you know that the Chiefs are away, so the home favorite thing or the home cover doesn't really matter as much. Although you have a point, they do cover. They don't cover at home. Like the Chiefs never cover at home. So on the road might be a different story. We'll see. But yeah, Buffalo Bills. If you guys want to bet it, go for it, man. Minus 16. You can do it if you want to. I'm personally going to stay away. That seems like a lot of points to me. If you want to tease Buffalo and get them at minus 10, go for it. Get them at minus 13, go for it. I think that's probably the best way that I would explain that situation. I think that for me, I would not bet the 16, but if you want to tease it to under 2 touchdowns, you can do that, even though you'll probably get the juice at minus 160 or something. So you're saying Houston money line. Yeah. So what you're saying is bet 790 on the plus 790 on the Houston Texans. Yeah, no, no thanks. Houston won their Super Bowl in week 1, and they probably will not win again until they play Jacksonville in whatever that's like week 12 or 13. So yeah, this one's fairly simple for me. A ton of points. I'm staying away from it. If you want to tease it down to plus 13 or 12, you can do that, and that is totally fine. Let's go and move on to the afternoon games here. We're on pace here. We got about 5, 6 more to go, and we have about 20 minutes. So if we have time, I want to try to cover some Rookie of the Year odds or Offensive Player of the Year odds. So we can go ahead and do that after we get done. The Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are minus 4.5. This spot is very fun. It's probably the best DFS game on the slate. The 54.5 total is very, very enticing as well. Both teams can put up massive amounts of offense. And we'll see if the Cardinals offense can stand the test of time that is the Rams defense. I think that I can comfortably say, and I'm interested to hear the chat and give their opinions on this, but I think I can comfortably say, all homer bias aside, that the Los Angeles Rams are the best team in the NFL right now through 3 weeks. And regardless of what happened, they beat the Bucks in pretty easy fashion. There was really no sweating that game out, to be honest, after the first half. So what you're saying is take the Bills at 25 minus 25. I mean, it could happen. If the last thing I'll say, and I know I'm stepping over my toes here, Buffalo will not stop passing the ball. They're not going to run the ball in the second half. So they will keep passing the ball. They could be up by 25, 30 points. That's all I'll say on that. Anyway, the Rams, possibly best team in the NFL. I don't think any team comes close to them right now in terms of competition. They are very solid on both the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. The one thing that they struggle with is their running back right now, which is led by Sony Michel. So we'll see if Darrell Henderson's good to go. But if Sony Michel is in, that presents an interesting opportunity for a player prop. If you guys have noticed over the past several weeks, the Arizona Cardinals have given up a ton of points and yards to opposing running backs. Now, this sounds really gross, and I'm sure people are throwing up in their at their desks right now or in their cars or turning off the stream. But I think Sonny Michel is in play for some player props this week if he is the lone guy. And that would mean Darrell Henderson has to be out of the game. So you can only do that if Darrell Henderson's out. Maybe we'll look at that. Maybe I'll put it in my article this week and something to look at for the rest of the weekend. So this is going to be Kyler Murray's chance to shine here. This is probably one of his toughest tests, if not the toughest test of the season. I will say going into LA and trying to take on the Rams is probably the hardest place anybody's going to be able to play this season. Plus 4.5 seems like enough points. I think I probably lean the Rams minus 4.5, just because the one suspect thing, I respect the Cardinals offense, I respect the Rams offense and defense. The one thing I don't respect is this Cardinals defense, and they've been involved in several shootouts so far, games that they shouldn't be in. They're in. Minnesota was one of them, and Jacksonville they let hang around way too long. Obviously, they gave up that fluky, record-breaking yardage kickoff return for a touchdown or field goal return for a touchdown. And Kyler Murray made some really, really bad mistakes last week, really costly mistakes. So he's not going to be able to do that against this Rams team. They will take advantage of that. And right now, give me the Rams minus 4.5. I feel pretty good about it. I think this is the best time of the week to get them at this price. Minus 4.5 is not going to be where this thing ends up on Sunday. I would expect minus 4 at the very least, maybe even minus 3.5 at kickoff on Sunday. I like the over. I like the Rams minus 4. Minus 4.5 is a fantastic line to get them at the moment. Selected Arizona in my 2 loser pools. Best time to pick them to lose. Yes, I completely agree with that. Yep, if Arizona is going to lose a game, it's going to be this one. This is their chance to establish themselves, but it's also the Rams' chance to prove that they are the real deal this year. Matthew Stafford looks amazing. Cooper Kupp looks amazing. Wide receiver 1 on the year. Wonder who touted that in August. Anyway, Cooper Kupp, player of the month through 3 games, 25 receptions, 367 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns through 3 games. They don't need anybody else. They just need Cooper Kupp. Arizona does not have the secondary personnel to be able to stop him. Even if they try to do it, they'll move Cooper Kupp around, whether it be in the slot, outside. Maybe they use motion and get him free. But yeah, they have very, very good weapons all the way around. Robert Woods will get things going eventually. Deshaun Jackson proved that he still can beat defenders. Last week against Tampa Bay looked really good there. And then they have Van Jefferson as well, who also looked good. Tyler Higbee is a stud tight end. And again, we just have to wait and see what's going to happen with that running back core. But yeah, if Darrell Henderson's out, I'll say it again, you can feel comfortable taking Sonny Michel props. He got 20 carries, and I know a lot of them were in garbage time when in the second half when that game was over. But the Arizona Cardinals, if Sean McVay has done his homework, give up a ton of points to opposing running backs on the ground. So give me the Rams minus 4.5 again, and the over of 54.5. Bacon, I would not use them as a survivor pick this week. The Rams are going to have much, much better matchups. I would not use one of the best teams in the NFL as a survivor pick this week. I would probably take your chances. I would feel more comfortable betting like Washington as a survivor, or New Orleans as a survivor, or who else did I like? That's pretty much it. So you can take Cincinnati as a survivor if you want. I think that's a good opportunity to do that. Because when the Rams come to town, like you want to try to use the good teams at the very last part of the season if you can. like weeks 10 through 15, you want to use teams like the Packers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks if they're still good, then the Chiefs. Like you want to try to save those as long as you can. So the Rams in this close of a spread, I wouldn't bet them as survivor, but I do like them at -4. Okay, let's move on and talk about the Seattle Seahawks going up against the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are -2.5. Over 52 is in place there. The 49ers are coming off of a devastating loss to my Green Bay Packers on Sunday night. I don't think that they need to be shaken. I think that they just left too much time on the clock. They could have had Juszczyk, and it's not Juszczyk's fault, but they could have had him stop at the 1 or 2 yard line, bleed the clock out, use their timeouts, kick a field goal, end of game, end of story. So they didn't do that, which was, nobody's fault necessarily. It was a good game all the way around. I think that both teams deserve to win. So the fact that it just came out that way, it's the way it is. They have to fast forward now and look at this week where this game probably is more important than last week's was because this obviously is a division rival. It's a very competitive rivalry. These two teams, no matter who's in, always seem to have the games stay close. I know last year was ugly because I believe that Jimmy G got hurt in this game last year, and C.J. Beathard was brought in to obviously be in garbage time because Seattle ended up blowing the doors off of them right after Jimmy G got hurt. I'm pretty sure this is the game, and Brian, if you're in here, correct me. I believe that this is the game last year where you guys lost Kittle and Jimmy G and a few defensive players all in the same game, and that's kind of how your season went last year. So they're going to be poised to come back and get a win in this one. I think San Francisco has the ability to control the clock. Seattle's defense is very suspect so far. They've given up a lot of points on the ground and through the air. I think that George Kittle's back. I think that Brandon Ayuk is back. I think Deebo Samuel has an excellent matchup against the Seahawks. They're not going to be able to stop any of those weapons. On the other side, Seattle defense, like I said, bad. 49ers defense is solid. I think they'll be able to put pressure on Wilson. And we'll see what happens with Tyler Lockett. I have not seen him on the injury report yet this week. And if you guys missed it, he had one of the most gruesome looking injuries where his knee and his ankle both turned the wrong direction. And he sat out for a little while and came back in the game. So I don't know what the actual diagnosis was. But since we haven't heard anything about it from Sunday until Thursday, I would assume he's good to go, which props to him because that's amazing. Anyway, the matchup against the 49ers is pretty damn good for the Seahawks receivers. We saw today that Richard Sherman, although he wanted to try to commit to San Francisco, ended up signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the cornerbacks for the 49ers are either hurt or they're not good. Josh Norman left the game against Green Bay on Sunday night. He's their best corner at the moment. And other than that, they have rookies. And the rookie that came in did well against Devontae Adams for a little bit. Obviously, it did not work in overtime. But I expect DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to have their way, which is why BetOnline thinks this game is within 3 points. But at the end of the day, Seattle has not proven that they're clutch late. Tennessee was able to beat them in clutch time, in overtime, and they totally imploded in the second half of that game. Last week, they completely imploded in the second half against the Vikings. So give me the 49ers -2.5. I don't feel great about it, but I'm betting on the offense of the 49ers to be able to overpower that defense, as it has not shown up in the second half as of yet. Is Cincinnati risky because of Thursday football? No, Cincinnati is not risky tonight. I think that you can feel comfortable betting them for your survivor. You're only asking them to win, right? So you don't need them to cover unless I'm wrong. Let's move on. We have 9 minutes to talk about 3 more games. So we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are -7 home favorites here. The over-under sits at 45.5. Green Bay coming off that big win on Sunday night. They get a home matchup against the Steelers, who have looked really bad the last several weeks. We'll see if they have Deontay Johnson this week. He's definitely questionable still, going to be questionable probably up until Sunday afternoon. That would be the one guy I would worry about as a Packers fan. Naji Harris looked amazing. We talked about this on the DFS shows early in the week. 19 targets for Naji, one of the highest marks for a running back in the past 20 years. He gets the spot again against the Green Bay linebacking core that isn't good. They're subpar. They don't put much. They don't rush the passer as well as other teams do in the league. They're probably in the bottom 10 in regards to putting pressure on the quarterback. Has a lot to do with Noah Zadarius Smith there for Green Bay, who's on the IR still. Seems like a lot of points for the Packers to cover. I am going to be staying away from that just because not that I don't have confidence, but it's more so what are we expecting from the Steelers offense right now? And they did not look good against the Bengals. If that's any indication of how that week's going to go, then maybe we bet the -7 on Green Bay. But this is going to probably fall a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a little bit longer and probably bet this on Saturday, maybe Sunday morning. You could probably get the Packers at -6, -6.5 at the very least, as that's what it's trending to be right now. If Deontay Johnson gets ruled in, I fully expect that +7 to jump down to +6.5. So for me, I'm staying away from this game entirely. I think it's a great game for DFS. Awesome tournament spot for both teams. But for sports betting, traditional wise, I am going to bet the Packers on Saturday when it gets more to -6, -6.5. Good morning, Econics. Brian, have a good day at work. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for hanging out. And I hope your Niners win this week against Seattle. Let's talk about the Sunday night game. Wish I left a little bit more time for this one, but we're going to run through it anyway. The Buccaneers take on the New England Patriots. The Buccaneers are -7 on the road here, going up against Bill Belichick. It's obviously it's probably the biggest game of the week from a narrative standpoint, probably the biggest game of the year from a narrative standpoint. Everybody knows the situation. Tom Brady going up against Bill Belichick. I don't think that there's going to be a welcome homecoming for him. There's two sides of this for Patriots fans. One side, you're thankful for all the years of success. You're also jealous that he was able to win a Super Bowl on his own in Tampa Bay. So I don't know. 49 seems like a high total. It's probably going to be all Bucks if you were to bet the over of this one. The one thing I will say right now that I feel very comfortable with is that this could drop to -6.5. And if that does, that is one of my favorite bets of the week. Tampa Bay -7 is good, but Tampa Bay -6.5 is a home run. So, guys, you heard it. You waited long enough in the stream, 54 minutes in, to have me give you my favorite bet of the week. It's Tampa Bay, but you have to wait until they're -6.5, which I think happens soon. Can you bet them at -7 Sunday afternoon? Yes, you can. The main storyline here that Tom Brady needs 68 passing yards to pass Drew Brees for the all-time passing yards record. I believe that's like 58,000 yards or something. He's only 68 away. He planned it perfectly through 4 weeks to get to this point, to do it against Belichick in New England, setting the all-time NFL record for passing yards. This is the best spot on the card. Tampa Bay -6.5 again. I can't get enough of it. I'm going to be betting it several ways on Sunday night. The biggest thing for Tampa Bay, their biggest weakness so far, has been their secondary. New England, the worst part of their team is their wide receivers. So if Tampa Bay can control and stop the run game, which I believe that they will try to establish early with Mac Jones at quarterback and Damian Harris at running back. They lost James White, so that's obviously terrible for the Patriots. They're not going to be able to do anything on offense against this Tampa Bay defense. Give me Tampa Bay -6.5. I'm not worried about it at all. Smash that. It's a hammer bet. I love it so much this week. Good morning, Lou. You came just in time to talk about the Steelers and the fact that the Bucks are going to smash the Patriots on Sunday night. So we have about 4 minutes left, guys. Huge shout out to our sponsor at BetOnline.ag. You've obviously seen them over the past 3 weeks. They are our sponsors and official partners for the entire 2021 NFL season. I've posted numerous spreads and picks over the past 3 weeks for every single game in my article pages. So if you're not an NFL member, we do have a special for you, and I'll get to that right now before we talk about this Monday night game. If you are not an NFL member with Roto Radar yet, use promo code STRONGSIDE, one word, STRONGSIDE, at checkout for weekly or monthly, and you will get 50% off your first week purchase. Again, use code STRONGSIDE at checkout for weekly or monthly NFL packages, and you'll get 50% off this week. I feel really good about where we're at. We've won 10 slates in a row coming down since last Sunday. So we've won Monday Night Football last week, Thursday Night Football last week. The Sunday clean swept everything, main slates and Sunday Night Football, and then we also won Monday Night Football. We're looking to win Thursday Night Football tonight, Jacksonville and the Bengals. And so let's talk about this again. 50% off this week, or any week actually, but your first week's going to be 50% off using the code STRONGSIDE at checkout. Finally, the last game on the slate is the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. The over-unders here sits at 52 right now. LA is getting -3.5 at home. Chargers coming off a huge win against the Chiefs. I think they fall back down to earth a little bit here. Raiders, I don't want to touch this game at all, and that's the reason I'm not covering it too much. Not touching it right now. Maybe I'll have a better read on it as the week goes along. But right now, the Raiders look great. Derek Carr has the most passing yards out of anybody in the league. He is AFC Offensive Player of the Month. And I don't really want to touch it because I don't really know which way it's going to go. So if I had to pick a winner, I would say I think the Raiders are an interesting underdog play. But at the same time, I don't really want to touch it. So that's it, guys. We're through 16 games. This is probably the last week before bye week start hitting. So I appreciate you coming out, and we're able to actually get through 16 games this time. Normally I'm rushing through the last back half of the games here, but we were able to get to all of them. To recap what I like for bets, let's start up at the top here. I was on -7.5 for Cincinnati. I like Washington -1.5. I liked the over of 51 of Browns and Vikings. I like the over of 50.5 against the Panthers against the Cowboys. I'm interested in the Chiefs if they fall to below a touchdown. You guys can handle the Bills money if you want. You can do that. I'm not going to dog you for that. Rams -4 over 54 there. And then the other ones that I liked. Oh, we didn't even cover Baltimore and Denver. Why did I miss that? Anyway, that one I'm staying away from, so that's an easy cross off for me. Baltimore doesn't look good on offense or defense. Denver coming in undefeated at Mile High. So again, I'm not going to touch that one either. So okay, there we go. Now 16 games through. Anyway, perfect timing. Stream ends in about 30 seconds again. Huge shout out to you guys for hanging out this morning. All 30 plus of you in and out of the stream on Thursday morning. We have a stream for DFS, specifically FanDuel Single Game DraftKings Showdown, coming up here in about 2 hours at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll catch you all there in a little bit, and I will be doing that stream solo myself. We'll see you all in 2 hours. Again, my name is Jared Block. Good morning and good skill.